Let's go! Anthony Bradford, Joseph Evans. Are they the keys to winning a national championship? Full disclosure, anytime I do a deep dive on linemen, you guys don't watch. You just want quarterback and Eric Gilbert content. So stick with it because I promise you this video is going to be fun because I'm going to show you what actually is the framework of national championship teams. And one common thread you normally see is something that we don't normally think about. So subscribe, like, all that good stuff. Let's get to it. So, look. First thing, it's good that Ed Orgeron in all these interviews, whether it be off the bench or WWL or wherever, is saying that he's open to everyone moving their way up the depth chart. And for Anthony Bradford and Joseph Evans to do that is pretty impressive considering nobody was talking about these two players. Now, you're looking at a photo now of Anthony Bradford. Here he is standing alongside, I believe, Cam Wire, getting ready to fire off the football. And here is a photo of Joseph Evans rushing the passer against Mississippi State. So, first thing about these two guys is we don't know a whole lot about Anthony Bradford. We do know a little bit about Joseph Evans, and we're going to show you Joseph Evans' stats in just a second. But Ed Orgeron not only mentioned Anthony Bradford, this is Shea Dixon transcribing the quotes from this morning's interview on Off the Bench. I listened to the interview. Ed Orgeron is obviously pretty fired up about all these guys, but he also mentioned Marcus Dumervil and Charles Turner being some also top backups, along with Garrett Dellinger, the true freshman on the offensive line. And here's what he had to say about Joseph Evans. And it's just been nonstop, Joseph Evans, which is interesting considering how crowded the defensive tackle position actually is right now, with obviously Mason Smith making his waves, and then you have Neil Farrell and Glenn Logan, and then you still have Jaquelin Roy. But here's another name I want you to keep in mind here, Sony Fanua. And you're going to see his name here in just a second. So, my thoughts, and I'm starting to get questions about these two guys, is first, we just don't know a whole lot about Anthony Bradford other than he was the other four-star guard with Kardell Thomas in that class of 2019. But Joseph Evans was also in that class of 2019, which is pretty crazy to think about because this is a make-or-break year for that group. Now, before we get into that, you're looking at Joseph Evans' stats. He did get his opportunity to play quite a bit last season. Not a ton, but not to the point where he wasn't playing at all. And it was okay. You're looking at his stats right now, but, apparently he's taken a leap to where, Ed Orgeron's expecting him to be Bennie Logan or Ricky Jean-Francois, name any great LSU defensive tackle, and hopefully he's right about that because that would be pretty huge. Here's the thing about the class of 2019 is that, well, this is kind of a big year for him. So before I show you the entire LSU class of 2019, which in theory are rising juniors and or redshirt sophomores, it's a little weird because they didn't count against eligibility, but in other words, the third year in the program, which to me is oftentimes the framework of your national championship level teams. And we'll get a little deeper into that, but quick, bit of disclosure here. The 2018 LSU class, now some of them still have, more eligibility, but for the most part, the class of 2018, outside of, Jamar and Terrace obviously at the top, lots of disappointment in this class, lots of misses in this class. And what you're about to see here with the 2019 group, which is their upcoming third year in the program, is that there are some guys that are in danger of potentially being misses as well. Now, obviously, Derek Stingley, has exceeded expectations, but John Emery, big year for him. Marcel Brooks, no longer with the team. Kardell Thomas, Trey Palmer, another big year for him. Maurice Hampton, no longer with the team. Siaki Ika, no longer with the team. Tyrion Davis-Price, still waiting for that breakout year. And Ray Parker, and then Dante Starks, and then Devonta Lee. And oh my goodness, this class is not only either long gone. It's also just guys that, haven't really played or just didn't work out. But now we get to the bottom half. So obviously Devonta Lee, a big year for him. But then you see Anthony Bradford, Peter Parrish, obviously no longer with the team. Ray Darius Jones, buried in the depth chart. Haven't heard a whole lot about Thomas Perry. But then you get down here. Obviously Jay Ward, big success. We'll see how he does at free safety. I'm pretty high on him. Kendall McCollum, Charles Turner, a backup. You just saw Ed Orgeron mention his name. Cordell Flott. Can he have the bounce back year? Joseph Evans. But then you see Sony Fanua here. TK McClendon transfer. Desmond Little, not a whole lot there. And then you see Cade York and Quentin Skinner. Obviously, both of those guys, big hits. But as we've mentioned before, special teamers aren't graded properly according to recruiting circles. In other words, they grade special teamers lower and differently. So while Cade York is a 3-star, he was the number 4 ranked kicker. So what does this mean? Well, this is a make or break year for the 2019 class. And if you ever look at championship teams, one thing that they all have in common, more often than not, is that their recruiting class from 2 years prior is oftentimes the backbone of their championship teams. But it's not just the recruiting class from 2 years prior, it's the lower ranked guys in those class. It's the 3 and 4 stars that had to really work their way up the depth chart and really had something to prove that turned out to be the difference with national championship programs. No bigger example of that is the 2017 LSU recruiting class, which to me is the greatest recruiting class in LSU history, not only for guys at the top such as Grant Delpit, Austin Deculus, and Jacoby Stevens, but guys at the bottom like Patrick Queen, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and, of course, most famously, Justin Jefferson. So that's crazy. But what about the 2018 Clemson team, where you look at the bottom? The 2016 recruiting class included 3 stars like Kevon Wallace, draft pick Isaiah Simmons, transformational defensive stalwart Skalski, who was a starting linebacker, still a starting linebacker for them. So, yes, it oftentimes comes down to the lower-ranked guys in your recruiting class from 2 years prior being key points of emphasis on national championship classes. So there you go, 2 national championship teams with a lot of 3 and 4 stars at the bottom of their classes really forming that national championship culture for those 2 programs. Now, I didn't include 2020 Alabama because they don't really have 3 and 4 like 3 and low-level 4 stars that actually go to the program, but even then, they had a guy like a Slade Bolden, for instance. Now, you see that. You need those guys. And Joseph Evans and Anthony Bradford certainly fit into that mold. But if you're a diehard LSU fan, if you've made it, and you've made it to this point of the video, let's go back to the last 2 national championship teams at LSU, or let's just put it this way, the last 2 teams to reach the national championship team, and this is just a blast from the past. I love doing stuff like this. So, you see, Russell Shepard, Ruben Randall, Craig Lawson, Michael Ford, and Sam Montgomery. All those guys, of course, turned out to be great. Kevin Minter. So this is the top half of that class. But then, as you move down lower to these 3 stars, you see like a Morris Claiborne, a Lamine Barrow, a Bennie Logan, Josh Williford, a starter on the offensive line. So, that 2009 class, those lower guys, that lower tier, they are oftentimes key glue guys or really good players on national championship teams. Let's go even further back to the 2007 team. 2007 LSU National Championship team. So that would be the 2005 recruiting class. Let's see if there were some gems in this class. So obviously, R.J. Jackson was a pretty solid player. Derry Beckwith was a starter. But you get down here. Now, signed letter of intent, these guys signed, and I don't know why it's different than this, but these are really the lower-ranked guys. Brandon LaFell, a 3-star. Now, full disclosure, a 3-star then is like a 4-star now. The recruiting is more advanced. It's just there's a wider group of 4-stars, but still, Brandon LaFell was a 3-star. But then you start digging, and you see some real gold here. Saron Black, 4-year starter at left tackle. Lyle Hitt, multiple-year starter on that offensive line in 2007 that paved the way for those Jacob Hesters and Charles Scotts and set up the play-action game to Richard Dixon. Lyle Hitt was a really good player, and I also knew him in college. He was just a good dude all around. And then, of course, everyone's favorite, Trindon Holliday. You do not win the national championship without Trindon Holliday and that speed. So, yeah, I mean, you see it. This is a very real trend, and that's why we need this 2019 class for LSU to step up. Not only because this is something that has been very real, but like we just showed you, the 2018 class for LSU, yeah, there's some guys that will be on this year's team that will be fourth-year players, seniors, in other words. So guys like John Trey Kirkland could take that next step, or Chasen Hines or whoever else. But for the most part, that 2018 class, which would be seniors, it was rough. The good thing about this 2019 class is that there's still a lot of guys from that class that are on this year's team, and they just haven't broken out yet. Now is their time, and that's why you need the Anthony Bradfords and the Joseph Evans. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be those two guys in particular. And yes, you can win national championships without your lower-ranked guys being superstars, but I was just showing you the trend that has been the case for other LSU teams that have reached the championship game. So it is something just to keep in mind. Of course, if you stop by our live streams, they are so much fun. I know I promote them all the time, but in our last live stream, there was a legit 30-minute discussion about the greatness of Tyrann Mathieu, and everybody was sharing their favorite Badger stories, and I understand. It was fun. So live streams, we talk about like current LSU, but if you like, mid-2000 to early 2010 LSU discussion, we also do a lot of that. It is Power Hour LSU. Boom! What are we doing tonight? We're moving. We're in the process of moving. And, it takes a lot. It takes a lot for Haley to do her magic. I think we're doing Lo Mein tonight. Lo Mein! Let's go!